Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, or I guess for some it might be a little bit different. I'm jumping right back into Resident Evil Requiem because there is a story mode expansion DLC dropping this month, and I wanted to test something that I've seen a lot of people talk about, which is called lossless scaling, as I'm showing right here, right now. For those who don't know, I'm also running on the RTX 2080 Ti, so I don't have access to NVIDIA's official frame gen, but I wanted to see if lossless scaling could actually help performance in a demanding game like Resident Evil 9 in 2026. Now, I do plan on starting this off without using any sort of frame gen, and we are going to also quickly here, I'm going to change the settings to normal, but we are going to start at 1440p with no ray tracing, no motion blur. No, we're going to have hair strands on. We're not going to have depth of field on because those just kind of, for me, mess with the quality. We're also going to have DLAA as well with, yes, let's turn volumetric fog to normal in a second. We're going to get ambient inclusion normal first, but we're going to set these settings really quickly, and then I'm just going to press continue, which is going to be the kind of start of the game because that's where I last left on our last little adventure. You can see here in the top right, we're going to be tracking these frames. I was getting roughly 180 FPS when we were loading in. Of course, that's going to drop significantly as soon as we start to fully load into the game. Of course, now we're loaded into the game. If we're looking at the FPS tracker, I'm getting just a bit above 60 FPS. You could lock it at 60 FPS at normal 1440p on this card. It's pretty decent, honestly, for being a card that was released almost a decade ago. I mean, just looking around, not much going on, honestly. I mean, let me recheck. Yep. Now we're going to scale this. So now this is going to be on the Lossless Scale Frame Gen version 1. The FPS counter on the right is going to break. So we're going to have to look at the left side now where my mouse is currently. And it's going to show a number. Kind of embarrassing that it's not here. Okay, so for whatever reason, it's not showing. But I will tell you, I'm getting around 120-ish FPS right around now. It's going kind of crazy, and I don't know if what's it called? The NVIDIA overlay will show it whenever it turns back on eventually, but it's pretty good. I would like to point out, though, with some of these models and whatnot, there are a bunch of blurriness towards the rain on the very bottom, and around the hair specifically there is a lot of ghosting, but when you're only on version 1 like this, it's not that prevalent. But we're going to switch it to version 2, and we're going to go just with 2x frame gen. Yeah, now it's pretty much the same amount, honestly. There's really no change in the FPS. And yeah, keep in mind, just looking around certain objects, like moving objects, specifically the ground, because you have a lot of water particles and a lot of things are going on in the scene. Yeah, I mean, look at that garbage. But yeah, I mean, it's not bad, right? It only starts to get really bad when you really start to try to crank things up, because right now it's at like 40 FPS base that it's upscaling from, because it just tanks the performance. My main thing with 3x, I don't recommend this whatsoever. If you are going to use this, don't use 3x. 2x or 4x is perfectly fine. 3x, it adds a bit of ghosting that I'm not entirely sure if it's that noticeable right now, but it's definitely, for me, when I was playing, I noticed a lot of ghosting and a bit of blurriness around the hair and around the poles. Another thing that you kind of notice is kind of the grates. It's not that bad right now, but when you try to get higher FPS, you can definitely notice the lines in the grates kind of just turn into a bit of like mush, really. But now we're going to move over to 4x frame gen. Um, kind of what I have to say about 4x frame gen is, again, it just makes things a heck of a lot, I guess, like blurry in a sense. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say for that. You know, now that I'm saying this now, I'm not entirely sure whether or not this is capturing. This might not be capturing lossless frame gen. But I can 100% assure you this is on, right? All right, well, we're just gonna, oh yeah, let's not have that at a target of 104, 1,000. Let's put it just like 100. Okay, so I'm able to get the VSync number, or at least my monitor is 144 hertz. I'm able to get that. But unfortunately, what it does seem to me is that you're not able to see all the ghosting I'm able to, which may be just due to like video compression software, which is probably the issue here. But again, yeah, let's put, I mean, I could put this to fixed and then put it something like, well, that's 20. Let's not do 20 yet. Let's do something like 5 or something. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, you could definitely see like the tanking in frames at least. But it just, oh yeah, you can see at the bottom now. Yeah, you were able to see a bit of ghosting, but as soon as you get above what you really need to, and I mean, if you look at those people that just walk by, it really starts to kind of go downhill from here. I mean, if we want to go crazy and crank it up to like to this high, I mean, okay, I'm getting a bit of input delay. I am able to very much notice that. And luckily it doesn't show it so well, but there were a bit of ghosting specifically on some of the things to the side. If you were able to move around a lot faster in this game, it'd be a lot more prevalent. Of course, the grates, for whatever reason, do not seem that bad. This, of course, is not me like really advocating for lossless scale and needing frame gen within gaming. I just have to make that clear. It's kind of a bummer that frame gen has become such a necessity in a lot of games. I mean, even the new Lego Batman game, on the requirement specs, it talks about needing frame gen or having frame gen on, which is kind of crazy. But that being said, let's just go down to 1080p. Okay, so now my base is around like 70 FPS without like 70 to like 80 without any frame gen on whatsoever, which is a big of a little bit of a contrast. Okay, so okay, now I'm getting like 111, 120. You know, that is interesting because it does dip your frames a little bit when you turn on like your base frame rate, because it's not like true frame gen in a sense of where it's 100% getting all your frames being multiplied. But yeah, I mean, I'm not exactly a fan of this. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. 4x, again, with the 4x, you start getting the input delay, although it's not as bad on a lower quality like 1080p per se. It definitely is not nearly as bad, but if we were to get into something like 14 back into 1440p or even 4K, which this is not a 4K card anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, if we were to go to fixed multiplier, ooh, you kind of start to feel the input delay from here, like not very noticeable, but noticeable enough to where if you were a casual gamer, you definitely start to feel it. But if we go over quickly to 10x, you'll just start to, you know, it's not actually that big of a leap. Definitely not that big of a leap. But I mean, there are some of the meshes that are just not going great together. I mean, that lady, part of her umbrella literally just clipped through the dude. I'm not sure if you were able to see, but just looking at the surroundings, I will say it's kind of like a bit of a blurriness right around. Unfortunately, the overlay for the frames, specifically with lossless frame, is not showing. I do have it on when I was recording this, but of course it doesn't wish to show itself now, so there's not much I can do about that particularly. Just looking around, getting one last good look. Yeah, so the final thoughts on lossless scale on the 2080 Ti and Resident Evil 9. You know, it's not perfect, but it's honestly better than I thought it would be, especially if you're using like an old NVIDIA card like this and you want smoother gameplay on modern titles that are single player. Would I use it all the time? Probably not, especially since some of the games I play are kind of competitive, and competitive games you want to have the lowest amount of input delay. But for single use gameplay like Resident Evil, yeah, I can in some situations see myself using it. Like if I wanted to use ray tracing, have lower settings on some hands so I can at least have like 40 frames base rate and then multiply that up to get to my refresh rate. But you know, just let me know in the comments, have you tried lossless scale yet, and what card are you on? Because I'm kind of curious, and if you enjoyed, you know, just let me know. Anyways, I'm gonna be heading out of here. Hopefully this was informative, and catch y'all in the next one. Peace.